This is our 2022 Mini Cooper SE, and this is my 1 month ownership review. Now, this is not going to be an in-depth review in the Mini Cooper SE. There's a million videos out there on the Mini Cooper SE, so I'm not going to waste your time with that. Rather, a video on what it's actually like to live with an electric Mini, pros and cons, do I still love it, do I hate it, charging, and most importantly, the charging cost, which I'll show at the end of the video. So let us begin with, is it still fun? Well, I'm guessing it is still fun because I never get to drive it. My wife drives it to work, and when she's not driving it, my son steals it because it's free for him. He drives a BMW 328 and he loves the Mini and it doesn't cost him a penny. But from the little I've got to drive it, yes, I still love it. I mean, what's not to love? It's faster than the average car. In fact, it's faster than most cars. It is better handling than pretty much every car other than high-performance sports cars. And it's virtually free to run. I'll get to that later. But yeah, not having to worry about fuel stops constantly like I do with that car. It's really great. The auto regen feature is really amazing. If you don't know what that is, basically when you lift off the gas, it automatically sends power back into the battery. There's actually a little gauge on your dash and it tells you how much power you are gaining back. So it's kind of like a little game when you're driving about. You don't want to touch the brake, and that even means that you're going to be saving wear and tear on your brake pedal as well. It's really pretty clever. Nighttime driving is really great. Up front you have the big LED circles for daytime running lights, and when it gets dark you've got very bright auto leveling LED headlights, super bright, you see exactly where you're going, no danger there. And obviously the rear you've got your nice Union Jack tail lights, which are both very bright and very distinctive, so no one's going to miss you. So let's talk about what we don't like about the car. This won't take long. There's only a couple of things and they happen inside the car. The first thing we don't like is the gear selector. As you can see, reverse is all the way forward and drive is all the way back. To us, our heads want to move it forward to go forward and backwards to go in reverse. Very small detail, but it's just a little bit annoying for us. The second thing is the reversing camera. Now I'm sure you can switch that off or change the settings, but it's just super paranoid about hitting things. Let me demonstrate. So we have all our guidelines, green and red, and directions you're going to go if you turn. You've got this outside circle of light. Amber is like okay, green is good, etc, etc. Red is bad. So let me show you what happens when you get even just a little bit close to an object. It's freaking out, so let's go outside and we'll see how close we are to stuff. Obviously, tons of room here. And I'm that far away and it's doing a freak out. So, because I want to bring the car all the way back to here, it's going to make that horrible paranoid beep all the way back in a straight line, even though I've got all this space. I mean, it's not the end of the world, and I'm sure there's settings, maybe sensitivity settings I can change, but it's just a wee bit annoying when you're not used to having that audible alert. I don't mind, you know, a visual alert. I can see, you know, I've got eyes, but I don't need the constant bleeping freaking out. I know it doesn't want to scratch its lovely paint, but that's it. That's the only two things we can think of at the moment, other than me not being able to drive it much because my wife and my son are always driving it. And obviously I've got my other toys to play with as well. Not bad for a dislike list. While we're in the garage, or halfway in the garage, let's discuss running costs and charging. Now I'm going to base this on our level 2 charger, which I'll show you in a second, and how much it's costing per kilowatt hour and all that technical stuff. I'll break it down a bit. This is our level 2 mini electric charger, which we got with the car as part of the deal. Now, if you are not a competent electrician or a cheap Scotsman like me, get someone else to fit this, and I'll show you why. This plug, 3-pin plug, is the same as my welder. I had the welder hooked up to a 30 amp breaker in the basement on the fuse box, but I was told I would need a 40 amp to run this. It's a relatively low draw for the Mini because it's got a small battery, and it requires 32 amps, so you have to go up to a 40 amp breaker. However, the wire I was using for the welder looked like this. It's a 2-wire with a ground, okay? This is not big enough to run a 40 amp or a 32 amp charger. I know this because I tried it, because I'm a fool. And I did monitor it, and I did feel the wire starting to heat up. So don't use that. More importantly, if you're running a different type of electric car in the future, it might require even more wattage. Like I know the Teslas, I think they go up to 60 amps. That wire they just threw away, that would actually burn, set your house on fire, everyone dies. It's not a good story. This is the wire you require for the 32 amp draw with the 40 amp breaker. This is actually rated to 50 amps. So even though it's rated to 50, I still couldn't run a Tesla or like a F-150 Lightning off this wire. It's no good. So be very careful. If you're doing it yourself, make sure you research or, you know, touch the wire after a wee while and see if it's burning your hand. No, seriously, get someone else to do it. This wire is quite expensive, and here's something else you need to know. A lot of new homes that are getting built will be getting built with this wire going to a plug in the garage or outside, specifically to future-proof it, because more people will be buying electric cars. So this wire is actually short supply. So if you're thinking about getting an electric car, make sure you can get your wire first. This roll of 10 meters, which was the smallest amount I could get, was $180 with tax. Shocking. Only needed 3 meters, so I've got spare, which means I can either sell it or route it round to somewhere else in the garage or take it to my next house. Who knows? But be warned. Right, charger wise, as I say, this is a 3-pin plug. The Teslas and the bigger ampage wires, cars and batteries will have a 4-pin plug, right? Don't want to get too technical. This is the one that came with the charger, so I know it's good for a 3-wire plug. Plug it in, it goes that colour. I don't know what it means. It's basically just preparing whatever's inside this big magic box. Turns orange and then it turns blue, which means it's good to go. So let's plug it into the car and see what happens. Just ram it in there. And once that little light is flashing yellow, means it's charging. The box itself will pulse. Oh, not the box, the light will pulse. Also to show it's charging, and inside the car it will tell you how long it will be till fully charged. I mean, it's pretty much fully charged at the moment. Now, here's something important. Don't charge it during the day. Charge it when it's off peak. And I'll go over that right now. So how much does it cost to run an electric car for a week? Well, my wife and my son both work in a very similar location. They're only about a kilometre apart from each other, so the distance is pretty much identical. However, my wife uses the country roads and my son takes the highway. Is there a difference? No, apparently. We live on this sort of level, work is that level, and there's a valley in the middle. So there is a bit of gravity involved, which helps with regen. The highway, not so much. so my son doesn't get the regen that I was talking about earlier, like my wife gets. So maybe that's why it balances out. Okay, onto the cost. So here's a map of how far they go. It's a round trip daily commute of about 80 kilometers. And here is how much it costs. We are talking average of about 80 cents to recharge it at night. Now, what I was saying earlier about off-peak, if you notice around about there, if you charge it before like 7 o'clock, obviously it's going to be different where you are, but in Canada, after 7 o'clock is off-peak. If you charge it before then, the price doubles. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's only like $1.50 instead of 80 cents to recharge it. This is recharging it from about 70% to fully charged. We've never taken the battery right down to zero, so we don't know how much that would cost, but that gives you an idea. And it's all very similar per day or per evening, how much it costs. So it's virtually free. Can you imagine how much a round trip of 80 kilometers would cost in an average petroleum powered car? It would be considerably more than that. So it's cheap and it's very cheerful. So wrapping things up, any regrets on buying an electric Mini? The only regret we have is we didn't do it sooner. It's truly, truly fantastic little car. If you're even considering one, go for a test drive, but make sure you take your bank details with you. Can pretty much guarantee you will leave the dealership with a receipt for a brand new electric Mini. Right, it's about time I went for a wee drive. I rarely get to drive the thing, so I'm away for a bit of fun. Take care, everyone. I'll see you around Christmas or something. I don't know. I'll see when I get back. I might be away for a while. Bye.